Welcome to the Seer Show. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of health, wellness, mindset, and fitness with the unparalleled guidance of lifelong knowledge seekers, Sifu Rafael and Nikki Gangemi. Sifu and Nikki will unlock groundbreaking insights with extraordinary guests from around the globe. You'll get the latest holistic approaches to well-being with a sharp focus on the powerful connection between mind, body, and soul. Get ready to take the leap. It's time to embrace a brighter and healthier future with us at the Seer Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, Nikki. Happy Wednesday. How are you today?
Happy Wednesday, Sifu. I am excited today. How are you?
I am also excited and exceptional and getting better every day.
Of course, all of it.
Yes. We have two powerhouses coming in, and I don't know. I think I'm just going to sit back and let you ladies talk because, wow, so powerful. Let's bring them on. Penny and Donna, how are you this morning?
I'm extraordinary.
Ooh, we have another E word.
Oh, yes. Excellent.
There you go.
Fabulous.
Fabulous. Yes.
I usually tell the kids I say farm animal, and they're like, farm animal? I said, yeah, phenomenal.
Oh, I love that.
So today is a great show. I'm going to let Nikki take it away because you ladies were talking before, and I was enjoying the conversation. So go for it, Nikki.
Yeah, well, so we were talking about how different words mean very different things to people. And I had posed a question, what does spiritual intelligence mean to you? So I would love to hear the answers from Donna and Penny, their thoughts on that.
You want to go first, Penny?
I was hoping you would because it's spiritual. But for me, spiritual intelligence is reflection. It's reflection as a communications cornerstone. Taking moments of quiet thought can strengthen clarity, leading to more sincere connection with multi-site teams, which I work with a lot.
Love it.
Mine is a little different in my focus. It is actually something that I have created called a spiritual intelligence method. And Nikki, I'm with you. I get so many people go, what is that? And it is a curiosity. It brings people to ask questions, which is a good thing, but there are so many different perspectives on it. So where I'm coming from is we are a spirit. We are living in a body, having an experience here on earth. But most of the time, our focus is on the challenges of the things we see, not the things that we don't see. Because as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So we could start with a thought. Everything was a thought before it became a thing. And that is, the computers were on, the desks were at, the chairs we're sitting in while I'm standing. But all of these things were a thought first. And so when I say spiritual intelligence, I'm talking about the things that are unseen, which are actually building blocks to build the life that we love, which I call vibrant living.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, similar to both of you, that's that intangible that we can't touch. And for me personally, spiritual intelligence is being able to tune in to myself, putting personality and ego aside and just listening for that. I call it my higher self or my inner being. and there's, listening for the answers inside versus getting into the noise outside and into that right or wrong type of thinking. So
would you call that intuition?
Similar, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Intuition, wisdom, inner knowing. Mm-hmm.
Because I think that intuition is what guides me, certainly the older I've become. But if you believe in star signs, your astrology, my birth sign, Pisces, is traditionally an intuitive sign.
Yeah. And when I listen for what's inside, I also pay attention to the feeling. So if I feel this receptive openness and there's this feeling that is just good, then I take that as, okay, that's the direction that's most aligned with me. Versus if there's any kind of resistance or constriction, it's like, okay, maybe that's not my intuition. Maybe I'm out of alignment with the higher parts.
I think this works well in day-to-day business, because we're not all a good fit for our clients, and our clients are not necessarily a good, or potential clients, I should say, are not necessarily a good fit for us. And you do find that if there is some kind of block, it's probably better you don't work with them.
That's right.
I got to tell you, for me, and you talked about it as well, is thinking about me, right? Spiritually connecting with me. My emotional intelligence has to come into that. How do I feel about my surroundings, the people that I surround myself with? And then it also comes to that vibing, right? How am I vibing with someone? How do I connect with them? Because for me, that spiritual intelligence is that it's not always when I'm by myself, it's definitely about me. And I got to start with me, and then I start thinking outward. So first in, then out. And then when I'm with another person, it's not about me anymore. It's about them. So that vibe, we have to kind of blend in order for us to spiritually even connect. Otherwise, we're just going to be passing by, and we're not really going to be listening to each other or even being in the same place mentally or physically even. That's my thought.
I love it. It's a good point. I like the starting within and then going without. I was thinking about that yesterday. We're all in a group, like you mentioned, together. And I sat back and I thought to myself, wow, I'm so lucky. Maybe that's not the best word, blessed, that I could be in a room for 1 hour and we are having a meaningful, productive conversation. And it was on that topic. We were asking, what does a productive day look like to you? And I said, this is refreshing. I'm aligned with my people and we're having a conversation about something positive and something that we can improve ourselves with versus the negative that is out there. That's alignment.
Yeah. So let's also tap into the business communication. How important is communicating in a business sense? Because we've all known and seen the boss type. The boss type is a person that commands and expects. But how do we create a better business communication in today's world? Because today's world is a little crazy, just a little, right?
For me, it's getting to understand the person first and the business person second. And one of the networks I belong to, the motto, if you like, is friendship fuels business. And I like that a lot, because I've noticed that within our community, CLA, we do a lot on friendship, and there is no expectation on business, but it's very nice to have when it happens.
Yes.
When I was thinking about your question, Sifu, it reminded me of one of the 7 habits of highly effective people: seek first to understand before being understood. And it's so much easy. It's so easy to say that. It's not so easy to live that, because we all have our agenda. We all have our passions. We all have things we're excited about. And you need to understand that this is da, 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 how great this is. You need to understand. And when I'm anytime in that mode, I'm not heard. And that's one of the things I love about the Connected Leaders Academy, as we were talking about. And I found it in a few other groups, but it's more rare than it should be, is to seek first to understand where the person's coming from, especially if it's conflict. It changes so many things when we begin to just understand it. You know, if we talked about even on social media, the jumping on somebody's opinion, if we just tried to understand, there would be so much more kindness. And so that is one of my mottos that I don't always succeed at, but that is my attempt, is to always listen and in understanding. So, and then share what I think.
Yeah.
It is a world that we play in, and even with any community you belong to, you may not be somebody's cup of tea. I know I'm not. I'm not. Maybe they like it more sweet than I am. Maybe they like it more sour than I am. We don't know that. But and I found that because I was at an event and it was a close, maybe 80 people. Everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, how are you doing?" Everybody was really getting close. And there was somebody who had said they wanted to meet me. And when I met them, I was very open. But then they closed up. And I was taken back a little bit. And I was very cordial. But what wound up happening is, as I looked on, I realized that that person only wanted to connect with certain people to see what they can get out of them. It was not more an open, fully open, like I was, or like so many of I would say like 90% of the other people were there who were fully open just to engage with a nice conversation. They were not there looking for something like a handout kind of deal. So that was what I observed. And that also happens in business. When you look at the way people communicate, they will favor certain people based on what they can do for them. What are your thoughts on that?
To me, the connection is all about shared values as a unifier. You know, when you find that you're aligned, even if it's only on 1 or 2 values, you can move forward. But if you don't find any, it's very rare that you find that there is no common denominator. But when it happens, it's very, very difficult to break through.
Agreed. Ladies, thoughts?
I was thinking the value of asking questions so that we don't fill in the blanks with what we think based on our own experiences and context. You know, even getting on a one-to-one connection call, because we're talking about business. So you go to a networking event and then you get on a one-to-one call. I have on my calendar, if somebody books on my calendar, what would make this the most meaningful, productive meeting for you? It's just a way of asking, what's the intention? Are we looking to collaborate, see how we might be a resource to one another, set up introductions? If you don't know and you go in blind and someone starts saying, so how's your business going? How are you doing with getting along with your goals? I might make the assumption, is your intention to help me, for me to work with you? So I think it's just best to ask questions rather than assume, and ask more questions. I like even just saying, oh, tell me more about that. And just see what information they'll give you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes questions will lead to the truth. And that's the kind of questions I sometimes like to ask, because you can see, I got to tell you this. You start to disrobe someone with the right questions. You start to take away the facade, the nonsense, and we get to the core. And one of the ones that you probably have all heard, but maybe if you haven't, the 5 questions. I like asking 7 to 20 questions based on why. Why do you think that? Why did you do that? Why? And it starts to break it down, so people start going, but I already told you why. Well, why did you think of it that way? Why did you act on that? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, God, I actually have to answer you, because it's not just why, you put more context behind it. And I think that truly helps somebody get to the core, even for themselves. When was the last time that you had an idea or concept and somebody asked you why 20 different ways, so that you can start narrowing, going, now I understand my own why. Right? And I that's why I like those type of questions as well.
Yeah, definitely. I ask a variation similar to that, and I ask what's important to you about that, or for what purpose, just to get more information out of them. So like Donna was saying before, seeking to understanding them. So I don't go ahead and do what we naturally do. Let me just fill in the missing pieces of information with what I know.
Yes.
What are your thoughts, Donna?
We do a lot of assuming. And it's our perception of the way the person stands or is dressed, or something on their social media, which, that's their whole person, not there's so much more to people. And so I think I love questions as well. I often say questions contain the answers already in them. And when we learn to ask better questions, we get better responses. I jokingly say this. So if I walk up to my husband and go, well, so does this dress make me look fat? The answer was in my question. I think I look fat. And so when we listen to what people actually ask as well, it helps us to see where they might be coming from. Security, because we all have those. And so you had mentioned the person coming from a place of really scarcity. I need to meet with you, Sifu, because you have what I need and I'm missing stuff and I need it and you got to provide it. And rather than understanding, when I sow to you and give into your life, I reap in other ways. And so when we can come from the place of peace and security and having that quiet time and knowing that there is abundance, that service is what brings around what you need, not the frantic feeling of I need to meet certain people to get what I need. It changes the perspective in the way that we engage with people, and helping people them ask those kind of questions so that they can see that there's so much more than they've ever imagined.
One of the things that I'm always looking for clarity, and the best way for me to get clear when someone asks me a question is answer them with another question
Mhm.
so that they can come clearer. And one of my employees gets annoyed at me. And they're like, why don't you just answer me? So I say, the question I'm asking you is so I can have clarity, so I can answer the way I should answer. I don't want to just give you an answer and it may be not what you're looking for, or it's just vague. So I want to give you a proper answer, and that's why I'm now. You asked me a question, I'm going to interview you on that question, right? So I think questions are a beautiful thing, but we should also be able to deliver an answer when the question is appropriate.
Tell me more about that.
So, see, I love that. So, in business communication and in spiritual intelligence, I think when we can mix those two together, and I talked earlier about vibing, right? When you are at work, and if I need somebody to go ahead and build this thing for me, because what they brought me initially looked like this, and I said, no, I really want this one. But then maybe I need to find out what's going on with them, understand how come they didn't deliver this, yet they delivered this one, right? And when we can start to understand maybe where they're at, so we have to get in touch with them on a deeper level. I told you it had to be blue. Meanwhile, you brought me the black one. What's going on with you?
Mhm.
Let's forget about that for a minute. Talk to me about what's going on. You seem a little distracted, and so we can start to do that connection, that spiritual connection. So now we can vibe, and then we can say, "How can I help you achieve this?" And I think that that's an important aspect where we can combine them both to bring both clarity and connection as well. Thoughts.
Oh, there's lots of thoughts going on in my head.
Well, the last time I checked, I'm not a mind reader.
You are not.
Checked.
No, so I'll tell you what I was thinking about, because I'd like to pose this question to all of you. Sometimes we get not sometimes, I would say oftentimes, there's an initial feeling. You're having a conversation with someone, and when you connect with someone and it's like, oh wow, I feel like I know this person, and there's this automatic rapport. And then there's other times when you talk with people and there's something that's off and you can't quite tell. And I'll like to just give it a chance. I sometimes I beat the dead horse, and it's like, when do you decide that I'm going to go based on this feeling that maybe we're not the most aligned, even if it's with a client, like, just saying no, that we're not the best fit to work together. I'm happy to refer you to somebody else, versus getting curious and asking questions. Does that make sense? What
It
I'm
does.
asking? Okay. I'd love to hear
you're looking for clarity.
Looking for clarity. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Donna. You're thinking. I can see you thinking over there.
I guess I'm not quite sure what the question was. Could you say it, rephrase it?
Sure. So the question is, at what point do you just listen to yourself when you make an assessment or a judgment? Maybe this is the right partnership or not to enter into, versus questioning yourself and giving it more of a chance to see if maybe the person will come around. I've experienced that before, where maybe you meet someone new and you're like, there's something about that person that I don't like. And then as you get to know them, maybe as they relax a little bit, maybe they're an introvert, so they're shy, and you mistake that for them having this air about them. You're like, you know what, that person's really cool. She's actually, or he's really, nice and open. And it's like, I'm glad I gave that person a chance, because I made the wrong judgment initially.
Yeah. I love to engage in questions and ask questions and answer them in that kind of conversation. And as long as they're willing to engage in the, so what's your favorite ice cream or whatever it is, so that you can begin to and not so much a question that would make them feel so vulnerable, so that they begin to lose some of the on guardness that they may have in that kind of situation. So I like to try to do it in that way to get a rapport going of, oh, we both like chocolate ice cream, whatever it is, so that there begins to be a rapport. And as long as they're willing to engage, I am. And when they no longer wish to, then I love to say, is there any way I could serve you today? Is there any resource, anyone you need to meet, any connection I can do, and leave it in, closing it in a service, whether it's a connection call, a sales call, as you will, a consultation as coaches do, whatever it may be. Is there a way, and end it that way? And then I usually ask them if I can pray for them. That brings down a lot of barriers. If they're open to that, that also tells me whether that we might be a good fit for each other, because prayer is part of my life. So those are some of the ways that I try to build more rapport and to get engagement with people.
I love that. Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Penny?
I think that very often we are two people. We have our business face and we have our personal face. And I like to get to know the person first and foremost and see what the connection is, explore that connection. And as Donna said, if there's something that is slightly off, then do a little bit more digging with gentle questioning. What I found when I was a journalist, and obviously journalists ask loads and loads of questions, I would do interviews with some of the merchants, ministers, and members of the ruling families across the Gulf states, which is, I think you refer to them as the Persian Gulf. And questioning was very difficult, because first of all, we were talking in a language which wasn't their first language very often, but they were very guarded. And journalists in the 70s had a very bad reputation and they were not trusted. So we go back to the know, like, trust basis for all communication. You build that rapport, you get to know and like somebody, and then you can go further and find out more about them. And then on a business level, you find out how they may or may not fit into your business life, and again, how you can serve them.
I love that. I love the soft questions.
Yes. Soft questions and staying curious is what I heard, even though you didn't use that word. That's what I made it mean.
Yes. Yeah. I think as a child, I was always encouraged to be curious. My father was an engineer. He obviously didn't have that kind of rapport with my mother, and he developed it with me. And he used to take me into his factory as a little girl and say, this is what it does it. This is what it does. This is how it does it. Now you do it. And so I would love to go into the workshop and find out what he was making. Why did he keep all these little pieces of an old dishwasher, which became some amazing machine that killed weeds? It's I'm not sure that in the UK we teach children to be curious so that they learn in the way that I learned. And I think that it would be something very, very valuable to be curious.
Mm. I love that. I have a couple of thoughts, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
When you talked about children and being curious, I think technology is taking that away a little bit, or maybe a lot of it, because there's nothing like building something with your hands, right? Listen, I own a wood shop, so I know how to build things, right? And as a kid, I've always built things. Now I see kids building things, but on a game. They're putting a brick here, but they're not physically doing it. They don't understand the concept of physically having their body engage in this experience. So they're having a different experience than I would if I'm going to go build something. Now, don't get me wrong. I do 3D modeling and all that kind of stuff on a computer to be able to show a client a conceptual design that they may be looking at, because it's a lot cheaper than me building it and they go, I don't like it. So therefore, that's why the 3D modeling is great, right? But then the other thought that came to me is that sometimes you have to go with your gut feeling. If I encounter somebody, I got to tell you, I've been blamed for loving everyone. And is that a bad trait or a good trait? But if I don't feel comfortable with somebody, that's my gut saying, beware. But then also, we can engage with somebody who's very warm, very, very outgoing, very like, I'm in your corner, and then they betray you. So we do have to have certain barriers that we need to put up when we encounter a new person or a person that we've been dealing with, but maybe they've changed because their circumstances changed, maybe at home, at work, or anything else. So we also almost like having that spidey sense, right? Like, wait a minute, what's going on here, right? So we got to kind of think about how how um, how you're engaging with me in this moment compared to what we've done in the past. So having that spidey sense, or like when I met that gentleman who really wanted to get to know me, and I found out that he made his rounds, but then went back to what he knew. So maybe it's because he was uncomfortable. He didn't know how to socialize in that aspect, but the people he knew, he was okay with. He didn't expand his horizons. Maybe he just wanted to shake my hand, but from what I gathered, he's like, I've been so looking forward to meet you. I want to know more. And then somebody came, said hi, and then he was gone. Right. And I was like, okay, see you later, kind of thing. But it didn't hurt me. Right. I didn't know him, but that was just an observation. And I never talked to him throughout the night. There was no eye contact, no, and we passed by each other, whatever. But I think having our gut feeling and going with our spidey sense, if you will, can guide us a long way in connecting with another person or even doing business with another person.
I think your gut feeling is my intuition. Same thing.
Correct.
And I also think that, we are good communicators. Other people may not be quite as good, may not feel quite as comfortable in those social skills. So we need to find a mechanism to reach them And it's only by getting to know them on a different level that we can shape how we communicate with them. And today, we don't necessarily have that time, which is a great shame.
It is. I'm gonna challenge you on something you said, Penny. Are you ready? Here's the challenge, right? You said we're good communicators. And we may be. We may be good communicators, but the problem that a lot of people get to is that they believe that they are good communicators because other people have told them that. But are we doing the work on a daily basis to keep that level up? Or do we just glide across? Because for me, every day I'm practicing and learning how to be a better communicator. But I know a lot of people who are great communicators who don't practice. And so they will plateau here. They will never keep going up. My goal is to grow every day. That's why every time Nikki, and she kind of laughs at me a little when I say exceptional and getting better every day, is because every day I am challenging myself. I am doing hard work every day, because if I just sit back and think, oh, I'm great, I will just be where I was yesterday, right?
That goes back to when people say that they're experts. You're always learning. I'm always learning. I love learning. If you have that that wonderful sense of curiosity, that wonderful sense that there's always something that you need to be learning to expand your mind in whatever direction it takes you. That, I think, is the most wonderful thing. I mean, I'm a little old.
Do me a favor, don't say that.
But I never stopped learning. You know, I've started to look into all sorts of things that I never expected. I mean, let's just take AI for today's example. If I look at my father at the same age, he was still curious, he was still learning, and he'd never connected to the internet. This was amazing. How could you order your groceries through something that wasn't a kind of physical connection? And today we take it for granted. So every age has its own new things to learn. We are in a wonderful digital age, but you were talking about children who are spending too much time on their computers. They are not given the tools to be creative. They expect the information to come to them. And that, I think, is a big danger, because they don't seek the breadth of what they need to all those tools that make us consider every angle. They just see something that's one-dimensional, not tangible.
I'm gonna tell you why I said don't say old, right? Because it's a state of mind, right? You just talked about AI. I never met an old person who even knew what AI was. Here's the thing: the youngest person I've ever trained was 102 years old, and the
Wow.
beautiful thing about them, I was teaching a Tai Chi class in the park. I had about 150 people. The youngest was 68, and the oldest, if you want to say old, was 102. But they were not young. They were not old. They were young. They were vibrant. They were moving. But the beautiful thing is, I had I would say about 8, maybe 102, 101, 98, 99. A large group of them were that old, or should I say young. And the beautiful thing about them is that when we finished that session, they didn't leave. They surrounded me and asked me questions. What does this move do? What does that do? And the curiosity is what made them young. So remember, you're not old if you're curious. If you stop being curious, you're old.
Exactly. 100%. Absolutely 100%. But in the context of people thinking that when you are at a certain age you stop learning, that is absolutely not true. That's what keeps you young. You're absolutely correct.
We have a supercomputer, and every day, guess what? I get a new download.
Yes. and we're always creating new, I think they're neurons, aren't they? You're connecting new pathways, and the more pathways you connect and create, the better your brain continues to function.
The three of you are helping me grow, so thank you. Donna, go for it. Donna, you go, girl.
One of the things I was thinking when you were talking about the spidey sense is when I teach on intuition, I ask people, I'm like, so how many people here made a decision to do something, and in your gut, in your intuition, you knew you shouldn't? And I don't know anyone, I mean, like everybody raises their hand. We've all not listened to that still small voice. And so I call it, instead of I think you use the word boundary, I like the word filter. And because some things it allows some things to get through, but there's some things that's like, because everything looks good, why do I feel like this is not okay? We've had those moments, and then we found out why it didn't feel okay or whatever. So we do need to have some of that as well in business, not to protect ourselves, protect our family, to protect what God has called us to do. And so I'm with you on that spidey sense, is always being aware of what else is going on that I can't pick up with my five senses. What else is here, and staying curious in that manner is like, what else, what should I know that I'm not picking up with my eyes and my senses, and that way, and listening with that respect in any engagement, in your personal life, in your business life, in every engagement, that is part of you needing to tune into it. One of the ways I explain it is in the room you're sitting in, there's every kind of music you want to listen to. There's rock and roll, there's classic, there's country, there's, hip hop, whatever. There's all kinds of musics, but unless you have a tuner to tune into it, we miss it. And so learning to develop that curiosity part, that tuner of us, so that we can perceive what is going on, and taking the time, because a lot of times it's a feeling like Nikki was talking about. It's like, I don't really know, but I'm feeling hesitant. And so then it's taking time to process what else is going on here, and beginning to perceive information that is available to us that we're not always aware.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I love that. I was going to just say that word, and you did, Donna. So thank you. I love that we have these conversations, because it brings an awareness so that people can even realize, oh, there's another option here. There's another way. And we were talking about age and old before. I'm sure you've heard this, and I've heard it too. Oh, I'm just set in my ways. This is how I am. I'm not going to change. Well, maybe that person doesn't have the awareness that there's another possibility here. What if you could be 98 or 102 and be doing Tai Chi outside with Sifu and asking, oh, what does this move do? Being curious still. So I'm so glad that we're having this conversation and bringing this awareness to the world.
I think everyone either watching or will watch it on the replay needs to share this. There's so such a great conversation. Well, we've come to that time, right, Nikki? And
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. We initially started the show is going to be 30 minutes, and I changed it. It's now 45 minutes. But sometimes we want to keep going. But at this point, I think we're going to come to an end to this conversation. But my gosh, I almost don't want to. But I have another show I have to run to. What I would love for you ladies to do is I'm going to put your website across the bottom. Just tell us about what somebody can expect when they come to you. You got 30 to 45 seconds. Donna, you're up.
Well, I am a life mastery coach, and I love to help people excel and to overcome adversity so that they can be all that they were created to be. And on my website, you will find a lot of free gifts, as well as a monthly workshop that I have. That my next workshop is on April the 14th, and it's uprooting the imposter syndrome. So you can step into the leader in your divine destiny that you are called to be. So this is not a webinar. This is an interactive workshop where everyone communicates like this and talks about what their thoughts are so that we can actually grow. Not just, we don't need more information. We need wisdom. And that's what this is about. So I would love to engage with you and talk with you if that feels like a good fit.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. Penny, you're up.
For over 30 years, I've been helping global franchisors create operations manuals. I'm a regular contributor to Franchise World and guest on many podcasts. I've recently written a book, Manual Magic, Create the Operations Manual Your Franchisees Need to Succeed for franchisors, licensors, and multi-site operators. My mission is to reimagine the dull, text-heavy operations manual as an engaging, dynamic, knowledge-sharing environment fit for different learning styles and abilities. On my website, I have lots of articles on knowledge sharing and how you can engage teams to the maximum so that no matter what age group you belong to, you contribute positively to the workplace.
I love it. By the way, I realized that people wanted to reach out to you while you were talking. Wait for the show to finish and then reach out to both of these ladies. And then also Nikki. Nikki, you're up.
Thank you, Sifu. So I'm Nikki Gangemi, personal trainer for your mind, and I empower people with tools to help to break free from the old patterns and ways of thinking so they can live calm, confident lives where they have creative control. I also have monthly complimentary workshop experiences, and the next one is tomorrow. We'll be learning about how to have clarity and confidence under pressure, and I'll be teaching my calm framework to help you with that. So I'll put the link in the chat to join.
Yes, go join, go join. Unfortunately, I always want to go to those, but you know, I'm with clients at that time. But one day,
sign up anyway and get the replay. I emailed the replay out. Yes.
I can get the replay? You mean
get the replay? Yes.
Sign me up. I want to be there, you know, live, but
because it is interactive, it's better to be there live. Yeah.
Sure. And by the way, I'm Sifu Rafael. It's very easy to find me. Go to sifurafael.com. My goal is to help you enhance your communication skills to a higher level, like we talked earlier, because if you are plateau, we need to take you higher. Allow me to do that. And the most important thing, if you want to come on a show like this with me and Nikki or one of my other 7 shows, reach out. Let's make it happen. By the way, if you want to see what these shows look like, go to my website. They're all there as well. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us today. What a pleasure. And ladies, I've grown right here today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, have yourself an exceptional and beautiful day. Take care. Bye-bye.